you 2 points leeway either way, up or down.
Okay.
What's the highest number of points the league has been won by?
So I'm guessing that it was either your 2019 side or Cass's 2017 side, because I know those two in particular, certainly in the SLP era, the last 9 seasons, have been big margins. I can't remember any from before that were, because there was a couple of seasons early on where there were fewer games, and then it felt like there was quite a few years where Wigan and Bradford were quite close together. Saints and Bradford were quite close together. Leeds never ran away with it. I don't think that I can remember. So I'm going to go with Castleford in 2017 as the one with the biggest margin, and I'm going to say it was 22 points.
Ooh. So it wasn't Castleford. That was tighter. It was about 10 points. Castleford. It was the 2019 Saints side, and they won by 16 points.
Oh, okay.
From Wigan in second place. But it was a bloody good guess, that, Mark. That was in fact, wasn't a guess. It was quite well worked through.
I at least knew the two top the ones that were the two most biggest wins.
Yeah, you absolutely were. In fact, the next ones behind that were both 8 points. So you absolutely picked out the two examples of the highest margins during that period.
Yeah, and to be honest, Wigan were not even a second place side really in 2019. How we got to second that year, especially thinking back to like the midpoint of the year when we lost to Warrington at Magic Weekend at Anfield, and everyone was calling for Lamb's head, and then he got us to second, and then got us to the league leaders, and basically the bounce of a ball away from winning the grand final the year after. What a turnaround.
So there have been 24 league leaders since the inception of Super League. Something that's very much on my mind, Mark, is how many times the league leaders go on to win the grand final. And obviously, for Saints to win 4 in a row, that's got to happen this year. How many times out of 24 have the league leaders gone on to be the winners of the grand final?
Okie dokes. I'm just going to put you up on something before we do that.
Go on.
I have a feeling that the League Leaders Shield wasn't actually something that was awarded in '98.
It wasn't. So this is why
Was it awarded retrospectively for the first couple of times?
No, it wasn't. This is why I talked about being the league leaders rather than winning the League Leaders Shield.
Right, okay, I'm with you. So
it was first awarded in 2003.
Wigan definitely did it in '98 and 2010.
Yeah.
So that's twice.
Correct.
Saints did
it. Done.
Saints inexplicably, as inexplicable as Wigan being the second best team in 2019. Saints inexplicably were the top of the league in 2014, weren't they? And 2019, so they did it twice there. So that's 4 times at least. So now I've got to guess. And then the treble has been won 3 times, I think. Once by Saints, once by Leeds, and once outside of those seasons. Once by Saints, once by Leeds, and once by Bradford. Out of the side of the seasons I've already covered. So I'm now at 7, right?
Yeah.
So I've got 7. I'm nailed on. I know there's 7. And it's now whether how many others there's been. Because obviously there was a string of years where you did pretty well in the league, and then Leeds beat you in the playoffs.
And then Leeds beat us anyway, yeah.
Warrington, I think, have won the League Leaders Shield maybe 3 times, certainly at least twice, and they've never won a grand final, so that's 3 for none.
Cass obviously didn't.
Yeah. 7,
Huddersfield obviously
7
didn't.
seems low, given that there's been 24 times that it could have happened. I'm going to go 10 times.
Ooh, I'm going to give you the point. Because it's
very
11.
Gracious of you.
11 times it's happened. So less than half the time the league leader, Shield or not, goes on to win the grand final, so less than half the time. So it's been 11 times. Saints have done it 4 times. Leeds have done it 3 times, and Bradford and Wigan have done it twice from league
See, I
leaders.
wouldn't have said Leeds had done it 4 times. I think that's probably what threw me. 3 times,
Leeds
sorry.
have done it 3. Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought they'd done it as many times as that. That's probably what threw me.
There you go. So 11 out of 24.
So
it'd be interesting to know what the stats were in Australia, actually, and whether they've got a less than 50% success rate for the league leaders winning the league. I mean, I think part of the problem...
They certainly had an 8th place team winning the grand final, didn't they, when West Tigers won it?
And of course we've had a 5th or 6th place side in Leeds, haven't we, winning the grand final? 5th is
the lowest someone's come from to win it, yeah, Leeds.
I mean, I think one of the difficulties with this as a stat, of course, is that we've had various grand playoff formats. Some of which have favoured the league leader more than others. So I personally, I still like the 5, and I think the 5 offers the best advantage for finishing as the league leaders, because you get a week off and other teams don't. You get a second bite of the cherry and all that sort of thing. I mean, that's still my favourite playoff format.
And is there anything in that one's produced the most league leaders winning the...
Now you're asking a question I can't answer. I'd have to go back and have a look at that.
Wigan the first time around was a 5-team playoff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Saints beat Bradford the next year, didn't they? And that was I think a 5-team playoff. But then it went definitely... No, 99 was the team we had 14 teams, actually. So did it go to 6 in 99 and 2000?
Yeah, I can't remember, Mark. I'd have to go back. I honestly can't remember.
Well, in the old 6-team playoffs, it was a bit more convoluted as well, though, wasn't it? Because when fans used to actually pay to go and watch playoff games back in the early noughts, but I think tickets were a lot cheaper. They made playoff tickets. I remember playoff tickets being really cheap back around 2000, 2001 time, whereas now they're like full price, aren't they, pretty much? Yeah, they'd take 2 or 3 quid off for a season ticket holder or something, but it doesn't encourage people to spend the money when they know they've got to spend 45 quid to go and watch it at Old Trafford if they get through the playoffs. But back in those days, when you had the big 3 of Wigan, Saints and Bradford, it felt like the playoffs went on a bit longer. So even though there were 6 teams, it wasn't just a quarter-final, semi-final situation that we have now, because you had that weird game between the 2 at the top to then get an extra week off in between, didn't you? And then you could play them again, sort of thing. So I do remember, like, even the 6-team playoff having that built into it, that it was different. Where you had like a second chance if you finished top of the table.
Yeah.
Which I guess is where you're saying, like, the potential for people to...
Yeah, I don't think, at the moment, I don't think there's enough reward for finishing top.
You get a trophy, you should celebrate it.
We will, but I still don't think that's as enough of a reward in our playoff system. Personally, not just because Saints finished top this time, but I think whichever side finishes top ought to get a bit more of an advantage than, let's say, playing a playoff game 24 hours before, the rivals in second place. I don't think that's enough, personally.
Well, you might not even get that this time because of...
No, well, we'll see, won't we? That would be a scandal. But let's leave that one for another day, Mark.
I think that's overdoing it. No. Especially because, as you've proven, you're less likely to win the grand final if you finish top of the league than... Well,
you definitely would be if you take any remaining advantage out of finishing top. But
I'd say a scandal's taking it too far.
There's obviously a precedent. Well, of course you would. There's obviously a precedent already being set for teams who don't have control over their own grounds having to move to another stadium. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case.
I mean, it's just utter bullshit that Huddersfield and Wigan, both their football clubs, were both Like, surely they were able to put in a thing saying we might have to be at home this weekend. It just seems like it hasn't been thought through. It hasn't been.
Well, that's no surprise for rugby league, is
No.
it?
No, it's like the
Let's be
Super League
honest.
haven't lodged that as a thing
Let's
that
be
might
honest.
happen.
Yeah, let's be honest. It's not a surprise. Anyway, story for another day, my friend.
Yeah, story for today. A really fucking stupidly shit bad story is Thatoif have had their indoor training ground set on fire again.
Yeah.
So the sort of tented all-weather pitch that they've got that provides great ability for training access for kids, not just rugby as well. I'm guessing kids play other sports on there and stuff like that throughout the year. Second arson attack in quite close succession. I mean, hopefully this time they've had some things in place to get footage and stuff that they weren't able to get last time. But why are people doing things like this?
Well, it's inexplicable.
And you can only imagine it's a kid from the local community, a person from the local community.
Oh, it must be.
No one's travelling from far away to set fire. It's probably not even necessarily done with any kind of thought of consequence. It's just...
No, of course it isn't. It's inexplicable, Mark. Very sad for the club. I hope they're able to recover yet again.
Yeah, so it's actually, it was a couple of years ago last time, so they managed to raise some money towards repairing it last time, but it looks like the club have stated it's going to cost £80,000 to redo the whole thing again, which is absolutely horrific for a really good community club that's obviously had a big part to play in the St Helens women's side in particular. But obviously,
the juniors. I mean, the junior sides are, thrive from there, and they've done a great job feeding players into all sorts of levels across the league over many years. So,
and a fantastic open age club as well that offers opportunities for players who fall out of the professional game for one reason or another to keep playing as well. They were on. They had a game on the BBC, didn't they, in the Challenge Cup a couple of years ago, which was had a lot of familiar-looking names on the lineup and stuff. And well, there is a GoFundMe page anyway if anyone wants to donate. If anyone can help Thatoif with raising funds to cover some of the costs of the damage that they've suffered there at the hands of fucking disgusting people. So search for that on the internet. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Any recommendations? You've been a busy boy since we last spoke.
God, yes, I have. Yeah. So I've been to the Edinburgh Festival for a week, and then I went to Green Man for a week. Both were absolutely fantastic. If you've never done the Edinburgh Festival, it's absolutely something, and you like sort of a really broad range of culture, then it's definitely something you should do. I absolutely love the Green Man Festival, and I'll keep going as long as I possibly can. I've got a lot of recommendations, but the one I'll pick out for this is unusually for me. I usually when I go to Green Man, I usually just focus on music and beer. But obviously the beer. But this time I decided to go and watch a couple of comedy gigs that were on. There's a guy called Mark Steele. He does a thing which I really like on BBC called Mark Steele's in Town, and I've always enjoyed listening to that. That's a strong recommendation. But he was on doing a stand-up show, and
does he have an article? Does he have a column in the Observer as well? Maybe on a Sunday.
I don't know actually, Mark. 'Cause I don't read the Observer, but he might do. But he's a very funny guy from Walthamstow in London. And I went to watch his stand-up. I nearly died. It was one of those horrendous moments where you just want him to shut up for a minute so you can get your breath. You know those feelings where you just can't breathe. I nearly coughed my spleen up. It was honestly really, really funny. So if you ever get the chance... I mean, comedy is a very individual thing, but if you ever get the chance to go and watch Mark Steele, I'd be surprised if you don't find him really, really funny. I had a great time.
Good stuff. Excellent stuff.
How about you, Mark? Have you got anything for us?
No, not this week.